October 11th, 1992, Deion Sanders woke up in Miami, Florida. He had a football game to play, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Miami Dolphins. An NFL game, full contact, full speed, the most physically demanding sport on the planet. He played that game, then he got on a plane. Because Deion Sanders also had a baseball game that night. The Atlanta Braves were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates in Game 5 of the National League Championship Series, a playoff game. The most important baseball game of the year. Deion Sanders suited up for both. An NFL game in Miami, a Major League Baseball playoff game in Pittsburgh on the same day. He is the first and only athlete in history to appear in an NFL game and a Major League Baseball game on the same day. Nobody had ever done it. Nobody has done it since. And most people can't even comprehend how it's physically possible. But that was Deion Sanders. The rules that applied to other athletes didn't apply to him. He operated on a different level, a level that nobody else has ever reached. But here's what makes the story even more insane. Deion Sanders wasn't just showing up to these games. He wasn't some novelty act getting a few token minutes. In the NFL, he was the best cornerback on the planet. In baseball, he was hitting .304 that season and led the National League in triples with 14. He was elite in both sports at the same time, and he had the audacity to play both on the same calendar day. You know what they called him? Prime time. And if you watched football in the 1990s, you already know why. Deion Sanders was the most electrifying, most dangerous, most impossible to ignore player in the NFL. He wasn't just a cornerback. He was an offensive weapon, a return specialist, a baseball star, and the most confident human being to ever put on a pair of cleats, all wrapped into one 6'1", 195-pound package of pure speed. Deion Sanders grew up in Fort Myers, Florida. He was a multi-sport star in high school. Football, baseball, basketball, track. He could do everything. And he chose Florida State University, where he became one of the most electrifying players in college football history. A two-time All-American cornerback, a punt returner who made defensive coordinators lose sleep, a baseball player good enough to be drafted by the Kansas City Royals while he was still in high school. But the moment that defined Deion's personality for the rest of his career happened before a 1988 game against the rival University of Florida. Deion showed up to the stadium in a white stretch limousine, wearing a tuxedo, before a college football game. He stepped out of that limo, looked at the cameras, and let the entire country know that this wasn't just another football player. This was prime time, and prime time didn't do anything quietly. The Atlanta Falcons selected Deion Sanders with the 5th overall pick in the 1989 NFL Draft. And from the very first snap of his professional career, he was different. Not just talented, different. He had speed that was almost unfair. Deion Sanders ran a 4.27 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. 4.27 for a cornerback. He wasn't just fast for a defensive back. He was fast for a sprinter. He was fast for any human being who had ever lived. And he used that speed to do things on a football field that cornerbacks simply weren't supposed to do. His rookie season with the Falcons in 1989, he intercepted 5 passes. That's impressive for any cornerback. But Deion did something in his rookie year that showed the world exactly what kind of player he was going to be. He returned a punt 68 yards for a touchdown. On defense, on special teams, it didn't matter. Every time Deion touched the football, the entire stadium held its breath, because everyone knew he had the speed to take it to the house from anywhere on the field. By his second season, he was a full-time starter. By his third, he was named to the Pro Bowl for the first time. And by the time he left Atlanta after the 1993 season, he had established himself as the most feared cornerback in the NFL, not the best tackler. Let's be honest about that. Deion Sanders was never the guy who lowered his shoulder and delivered bone-crushing hits. He wasn't Ronnie Lott. He wasn't a physical enforcer, but he didn't need to be, because his speed and his coverage ability were so otherworldly that he changed the way opposing offenses operated, and that's worth more than any tackle. Here's the thing about Deion Sanders. He didn't just intercept the ball. He turned interceptions into touchdowns. He turned punt returns into touchdowns. He turned every time he touched the football into a potential score. Over the course of his career, Deion Sanders scored 19 non-offensive touchdowns. 19! That was an NFL record when he retired. 9 of those came on interception returns. 6 came on punt returns. He also returned 3 kickoffs for touchdowns and scored on a fumble recovery. Think about that. A cornerback, A defensive player scoring 19 touchdowns without ever lining up as a running back or wide receiver. That's not normal. That's not even close to normal. Most cornerbacks go their entire career without scoring a single touchdown. Deion averaged more than one per season. Now here's what the statistics don't tell you, and this is what separated Deion Sanders from every other cornerback in NFL history. Deion Sanders finished his career with 53 interceptions. That's a very good number, but it's not the most ever. It's not even close to the most ever. So how can he possibly be considered the greatest cornerback of all time? Here's the answer. Quarterbacks stopped throwing in his direction. They simply refused to test him. Entire offensive game plans were built around avoiding the side of the field where Deion Sanders was standing. He didn't get interceptions because nobody would throw him the ball. His mere presence on the field eliminated half the passing game. No other defensive player in NFL history has ever had that effect on opposing offenses. Coaches would literally tell their quarterbacks before the game, do not throw at number 21, don't look at him, don't even think about his side of the field. Throw the other way. Because if you threw at Deion Sanders, one of two things was going to happen. Either the pass was going to be incomplete, or Deion was going to intercept it and score a touchdown. There was no middle ground. There was no safe throw. He was too fast, too quick, and too smart. His best NFL season was 1994, and this is where the legend of primetime became permanent. Deion had left Atlanta as a free agent. The Falcons couldn't afford him, and the San Francisco 49ers, already loaded with Jerry Rice and Steve Young and a roster full of Hall of Famers, did something that seemed unfair to the rest of the league. They signed Deion Sanders to a one-year contract. It was like adding a cheat code to a team that was already the best in football. And Deion delivered beyond anyone's expectations. He intercepted 6 passes that season. He returned 3 of them for touchdowns, 3 pick-sixes in a single season. He also played some snaps at wide receiver, catching 1 pass for a 20-yard gain. He was named the NFL Defensive Player of the Year, the most prestigious individual award a defensive player can win. And he earned it by being so dominant that offensive coordinators across the league would literally scratch entire sections of their playbook when facing the 49ers. Don't throw left. Don't test 21. Find another way. The 49ers went 14-2 that regular season, and they steamrolled through the playoffs, culminating in Super Bowl 29 against the San Diego Chargers. The final score was 49-26. It wasn't even that close. Deion Sanders had his first championship ring, and he had proven that he could elevate an already great team to an unstoppable one. But he wasn't done, not even close. The following offseason, Deion became the most coveted free agent in NFL history. Every team wanted him, and it was the Dallas Cowboys who won the bidding war. 7 years, $35 million. He was the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. Jerry Jones, the Cowboys owner, had just added the most dominant defensive player in football to a team that already had Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. The triplets plus prime time. It was almost unfair. And in his first season with Dallas, the Cowboys delivered exactly what everyone expected. They won Super Bowl 30, beating the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-17. Deion had back-to-back Super Bowl wins with 2 different teams, 2 rings, 2 franchises, 2 consecutive championships. He played 5 seasons in Dallas and made the Pro Bowl in 4 of them. He was the anchor of the Cowboys defense during one of the most dominant stretches in franchise history. He is the only player in NFL history to score a touchdown in a Super Bowl and a World Series. Let me say that again. He played in a Super Bowl and a World Series. The only person in history to do both. Not the only football player, not the only athlete in that era, the only person ever. Now let me talk about Deion Sanders on offense, because this is what made him truly terrifying. Deion wasn't just a shutdown cornerback. The Falcons and later the Cowboys actually used him as a wide receiver on offense. He caught 60 passes in his career for 784 yards and 3 touchdowns. He wasn't just a defensive player who occasionally lined up on offense as a gimmick. He was a legitimate threat. He ran routes like a receiver. He had hands, and he had the speed to turn any short pass into a long touchdown. Defensive coordinators had to game plan for Deion Sanders on both sides of the ball. That had never happened before for a cornerback. Think about what that means. You're an opposing coach, and you have to figure out how to stop Deion Sanders when your offense has the ball and when your defense is on the field. One man affecting both sides of the game. That's unprecedented. And then there was the baseball career, running simultaneously with football for years. Deion Sanders played 9 seasons of Major League Baseball. He played for the New York Yankees, the Atlanta Braves, the Cincinnati Reds, and the San Francisco Giants. His best season came in 1992 with the Braves when he batted .304 with 14 triples, which led the National League. He stole 186 bases over his baseball career. He hit 39 home runs. He appeared in a World Series with the Braves in 1992. He wasn't just a football player dabbling in baseball. He was a legitimate major leaguer with real production. Here's the detail that your brain might struggle to process. During the fall months, Deion Sanders was playing professional football on Sundays and professional baseball during the week. 2 completely different sports, 2 completely different training regimens, 2 completely different skill sets, and he was elite at both. The scheduling alone was a logistical nightmare. He'd play an NFL game, get on a plane, fly to whatever city the baseball team was in, play baseball for a few days, fly back for the next football game, and do it all over again. The physical toll alone would have destroyed most athletes. Deion thrived on it. Compare Deion Sanders to today's defensive backs, and the conversation isn't even close. Jalen Ramsey is considered one of the best cornerbacks of his generation. Sauce Gardner has been dominant in his first few years, but neither of them plays offense. Neither of them returns punts for touchdowns. Neither of them plays professional baseball on the side. Neither of them scores 19 non-offensive touchdowns over a career. And neither of them forces opposing quarterbacks to completely abandon one side of the field for an entire decade. What Deion Sanders did simply cannot be replicated in the modern NFL. The game has become too specialized. Players focus on one position, one role, one specific task. Deion did everything, and he did everything better than anyone else.
8 Pro Bowl selections, 6 first-team All-Pro selections, 2 Super Bowl championships, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 53 career interceptions despite teams refusing to throw in his direction, 19 non-offensive touchdowns, a .304 batting average in baseball's National League Championship Series, the only person to play in both a Super Bowl and a World Series, the only athlete to suit up for an NFL game and an MLB game on the same day.
Deion Sanders was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011. First ballot, no debate. If you watch Deion Sanders play, you remember the high step. That signature celebration where he'd high step into the end zone after another pick six, looking back at the defenders who couldn't catch him, letting the world know that prime time had arrived. You remember the gold chains, the bandana, the confidence that bordered on arrogance but was always backed up by performance. You remember watching a man who made the impossible look routine, who played 2 professional sports at the highest level, and who dominated the NFL so thoroughly that opposing teams simply gave up trying to throw in his direction. They called him Prime Time. They called him Neon Deion. But those nicknames don't fully capture what Deion Sanders was. He was the most dangerous athlete alive. A man who could beat you on defense, beat you on offense, beat you on special teams, and then fly to another city and beat you in a completely different sport. Nobody had ever done that before. Nobody has done it since, and nobody ever will again. Hit subscribe for more breakdowns of the legends who built this game. Next week, we're covering a quarterback whose fourth quarter comebacks were so legendary that his own teammates swore he simply refused to lose. A man who defined clutch for an entire generation. You won't want to miss it.